60 cars, 60 facts. Starting off with the 811. The 811 was originally supposed to have badging on the front and sides of the car with the Pfister logo and 811 badges on the body itself. Now these are still present on the car's low detail model, but on the high detailed model they've been removed, giving it a cleaner look. The adder was originally supposed to have an active spoiler, and this could still be seen on an older version of the legendary Motorsport banner photo after the Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 DLC. The Autarch has two separate trim colors, both of which are controlled by the primary and secondary colors respectively. Normally, cars have a secondary and trim color within the vehicle, but very rarely do they have a primary and secondary color equivalent that takes place within the vehicle. The Banshee 900R actually has two number stickers on the roof that come with the Bravado Racing Retro Stripes livery and the Bravado Racing Drift Camo liveries. These number stickers aren't perfectly aligned with the center of the car and deviate slightly to the passenger side. The Bullet was hard to find unique facts for, but many people aren't aware that it is the slowest supercar by lap time in the entire game, being even slower than the Astrop GZ, Zion, and the Strider. When customizing the Champion, if you put the white stripes livery on with any Sunstrip modification, the Sunstrip will have the word De Classe written on it, which is abnormal considering this car was made by Buckacherz. Now this could be due to a sponsorship with De Classe, but chances are Rockstar just made a mistake with the manufacture of this vehicle. The Cheetah was originally supposed to have a glass sunroof. This was seen in the earliest footage of the game, but can still be seen on the vehicle hauler trailer that has a cheetah at the bottom level. The Cyclone was originally put in the wrong class on the Rockstar Games Social Club. While in-game, the vehicle would be in the Supers class, which is where it belongs, but on the Rockstar Social Club, it was labeled in the Sports class until that was fixed shortly after. As for the Cyclone 2, the third level of the driving camera that's farthest away from the vehicle is slightly farther away than it is on any other vehicle. I'm not entirely sure why this is the case, but it isn't the only vehicle to have this feature. The Devastate 8 is one of only a few vehicles that write out the number in the name, but within the first few years of GTA Plus being released, this car was available for GTA Plus members, and on the GTA Plus website it was written as Devastate 8 with the number, which was a mistake on Rockstar's end. When the Emirates gets severely damaged, which takes a fair amount of time if we're being honest, smoke will only come out of the left vent and not the right vent. The same can be said when the vehicle gets damaged enough for flames to come out. This is a subtle detail, but if you look closely you can see that there's no smoke coming from the right vent. The Entity MT has the option to remove its glass roof, making it a convertible. Now the glass on this roof is always breakable, but when you remove the roof, it doesn't actually remove it, it just makes it invisible, meaning that if you shoot the top of this car, it'll both protect you from stray bullets, and the glass will still shatter if you manage to hit it. The Entity XF has been in the game since day one, but in the earliest trailers for GTA 5, this had a windshield wiper that was perfectly centered on the window. But this was once again changed before the final game, making it a single wiper for the entire windshield in a more conventional place. The Entity XXR is a mid-engine supercar, but upon opening its frunk, you'll see that there's actually no storage for anything, and there's no reason that this should even have to open, since you couldn't put anything there, even if you wanted to. The ETR-1 was originally supposed to be called the Shiva. This was figured out by looking at the internal names in the coding for the vehicle, but in the end its name was changed to ETR-1 for its final release. The FMJ was one of the first cars to feature taillights with exhausts right next to them. However, when you do brake with this car, or reverse, you can see that there was originally supposed to be a taillight where that exhaust is, since the light is still within the exhaust. This is an oversight that we'll see again on another vehicle later in the video. When customizing the Furia, certain wheel types cause the brake pads to clip through the rims. This is most prominent on some off-road wheels as well as some muscle variants. And now that you know about it, you'll probably never not notice it while driving this vehicle. The GP1 is the only supercar to feature headlight covers that completely remove any headlights from the front of the vehicle, making it not very ideal for nighttime driving. On the regular version of the Ignis, any of the stripe liveries with a certain hood option aren't perfectly straight due to the lips on the hood. For any perfectionists out there, this is going to bother you, and you might want to change the livery. The Infernus might be difficult to buy if you've only ever played story mode or only ever played online, because in online it's available on Legendary Motorsports, but in story mode it's available on Southern San Andreas Super Autos. There was never an answer given to why it fell on either website. The Italy GTB held the longest gap between its last appearance and reappearance in GTA games, being first released in the original GTA in October of 1997, and then reappearing in GTA Online 19 years later on January 10th, 2017. Now, although there's one car that holds an even longer record, this is the longest for any supercar in the game. One of the big differences between the Italy GTB and the Italy GTB Custom is that in the regular variant, when you look behind you, your character will look out the rear window. But in the custom variant, it goes to a third-person point of view and doesn't let you look out the rear window, despite there not being any differences to the rear window or design of the overall vehicle. When driving the Krieger and crouching down, you can see that the rev limiter goes way past the dial and actually clips into the next dial on the dashboard. I'm sure this is present on many other cars, but the fact that it clips into the next dial is a little concerning. The LM87 is the only supercar to feature mudguard or mud flap options. A few other cars have mud flaps, but this is the only supercar to have customization options for them. When modifying the exhaust on the regular variant of the Nero, the carbon panelings appear to be more concave on the passenger side, slightly detaching from the vents and moving over. This is most visible when rapidly switching between the options. The left side will stay the same, while the right side deviates slightly. As for the Nero Custom, when you pair certain spoiler options with other specific liveries, you'll notice that the sides of the spoiler itself will have a reversed image for the livery, which is an oversight on Rockstar's part. The Osiris was one of the first cars in the game to have gull-wing doors. However, the animation for opening these doors matches that of any regular door. Here you can see the regular animation for the Bullet, the same animation being used for the gull-wing doors in the Osiris, as well as the standard animation for gull-wing doors on the Sterling GT. The Penetrator was originally supposed to have a carbon roof scoop that covered the entire length of the roof. This could be seen in promo footage for the Import-Export DLC, but this must have been cut from the vehicle before the DLC released because there are no roof scoop options available for this car. The Pipistrello was the only supercar to be released in the entirety of 2024. A small fact for the RE7B is that it was originally supposed to be called the LE7B. When the Reaper first came out, many people complained of the broken roof pillar with the black section on the front ends of the car, but it wasn't intended to be this way and was just never fixed. The Rocket Voltic is the only supercar that can only be obtained once and cannot be sold. The S80RR is the only supercar to feature rear wheel covers. Now, this is already a fairly rare modification, but the fact that this is the only supercar is pretty unique. The SC1 was made by Ubermacht, which is the only supercar that company makes, as they specialize in sports cars. However, despite this being a supercar, it isn't even the fastest on Ubermacht's lineup, claiming 4th place if you include HSW. The Scramjet is obviously a reference to Speed Racer, but I want to talk about its rear view mirror placement. This is typically overlooked by many players, but the rear view mirror is actually located on the dash, which does work for this specific car, but in any other vehicle would be questionable. The Sultan RS has broken headlight vents. When applying the headlight vent option that replaces the inner headlights with vents, the actual corneas for the light doesn't actually get removed, so these lights will still shine from beneath the vents. When the Suzumi first released, its sunstrip modifications were placed inside the vehicle, where the back seat would be, rather than on the windshield. When the windows on the T20 are tinted, the F1 style brake light also gets tinted. This is likely a minor oversight on Rockstar's part, because no matter what window tint you have on the regular windows, this will only ever have no tint or limo tint. When taking a closer look at the Taipan, you'll notice that it has 3 pedals, despite the fact that the interior shows a gear selector for a car with automatic or dual clutch transmission, which would make the 3rd pedal completely useless. Looking at the inside of the Tempesta, you'll notice that there's a small Pegassi badge in the steering wheel. This badge is missing on the Legendary Motorsport photos when you go to purchase the car. Many people are already aware that the Tesseract is not affected by ketchup in races, but not as many people have noticed that despite it being an electric car, it actually has a fuel gauge for gasoline or petrol, instead of having a battery charge indicator. When choosing your exhaust for the Thrax, it's important to notice that any of the quad exhausts actually only have 3 flames. Instead of having 4 flames across the back when it backfires, it has 3 flames, which matches the stock variant of this exhaust, with the 3rd flame being centered between the 2 center exhausts. With the Tygon, installing the speed diffuser on the car will also add an additional pair of brake lights. Now, every diffuser has a center light that works as a brake light, but the speed diffuser specifically adds 2 separate brake lights on either side. The Torero XO is the only supercar in the game that allows you to remove the back bumper to expose a detailed exhaust system. When painting the Turismo Imaggio, you'll probably notice that the interior trim is linked to the primary respray options. However, this doesn't change the entirety of the trim, leaving certain parts as red for default that cannot be adjusted or changed. The Turismo R is the only supercar that was available for free with the Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack. When putting the lowest suspension on the Tyrant, there's a graphical error that causes the wheel to clip through the tires when driving over bumps or driving up onto a curb. This clips through more than many other vehicles in the game. The tires comes with painted stock wheels, but when viewed from far away, the vehicle's stock wheels completely disappear. I'm not entirely sure what causes this issue, but Rockstar never fixed it. The Vaca was originally meant to be sold on Southern San Andreas and Legendary Motorsports, as both websites have designs and pictures taken in their studios for this car to be sold on their respective website in story mode. The Wagner's license plate was originally meant to be smaller and centered on the back of the car in its beta release, but when it was finally officially released to the game, it was put off to the right side and cannot be changed or altered. The files for the Vigilante list that the vehicle is capable of firing exactly 30 missiles, rather than holding 30 missiles, meaning that when you fire all of your missiles from this car, one missile will remain in each pod which cannot be fired. This is definitely one of those things that if you never noticed it, you'll never not notice it now. The Virtue's scissor doors lack any collision to players, meaning that you can walk right through them without closing them. Despite this fact, the doors will still collide with any walls that you happen to drive into. The Vision is the only supercar with a plate delete option, because when you customize its rear splitter, you can actually choose options that cause the plate to be removed. This is the only supercar with the option to have and remove a license plate. As for the Voltic, despite it being a fully electric car, when the player exits the car, they may occasionally hear the sound of oil dripping down, which is confusing for an electric car as they don't have an internal combustion engine. On top of that, the oil pressure light is always on the dashboard when the car is running. When purchasing the weaponized Ignis, the vehicle comes painted in Warren Green with Feltzer Brown Pearlescent as a primary color by default, and neither of these colors can be purchased in any auto shops. So as soon as you customize it, that color is gone until you buy a new one. A small glitch on the X80 Proto causes light emitted by the taillights and headlights to be visible through the solid bodywork at certain camera angles. This isn't the only vehicle to feature this problem, but it is most prominent on the X80 Proto. When the XA21 first released, the scissor doors did not function properly in the MOC storage bay. This has since been fixed, but back in the day they would open like normal doors, which looked completely broken and clipped through the edge of the MOC. When modifying the Xenos canards and splitters, you can actually find two options that cause the splitters and canards to clip through each other. The Zentorno has a similar issue to the Thrax, because when you put on the quad exit exhaust, only 3 of the exhaust ports actually work. In this case, rather than the flames and smoke being offset, the second exhaust port just doesn't work at all. Now to thank you for getting this far into the video, here are 2 facts for the Zeroso. First off, when running from the police in this vehicle, the police dispatcher will occasionally call out the vehicle incorrectly, as it's set to overflawed. Secondly, the door on the passenger side doesn't seem to have a functioning light when opened, which is much more apparent at night when you look at both doors being opened. So there you have it, 1 fact for every supercar in the entire game. I'm hoping to turn this into a series, so let me know what class you'd like to see next.